Now, The Undertaker was a big thing on my channel, and it's been for a long time now. Obviously, The Last Ride was one of the greatest documentaries, sports-related, that I've seen in a long time. But WWE are not through just yet. They've added a small thing called The Tales of The Undertaker, which is an extension to The Last Ride documentary and giving a lot of stories about what The Undertaker has been through since being in the WWE for so long. He has a bunch of stories, and some of them I had no idea about, but some of them I did, and I thought it was hilarious to see his perspective on it. So, without further ado, let's get into The Undertaker's Last Ride, the tales from The Undertaker. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. This is going to be The Undertaker's Tales from The Undertaker's Last Ride, Tales from The Undertaker. This is just basically an extension, as I mentioned before. So before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below, out of every story that Undertaker had mentioned in this documentary video, which was very short, by the way. It's not an hour long, it's only half an hour. Just some funny stories that he's been through throughout his entire career. Let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite story that he spoke about. There were a bunch of great stories here. Some of them are funny, some of them are more shocking, to be honest, like the gas station story and stuff like that. That's incredible. I can't believe some of the things that these people have to go through. Anyway, let's get into the first thing that he mentioned. And the first thing he mentioned was basically before he was even in the WWE. This was trying to find his character, and it's called the he was going to be called the Eggman. And of course, as a gaming fan myself, this is the only Eggman, which I'm going to put on the screen right now, that I know of, and I don't accept any other Eggman to be a real thing. But anyway, that was going to be his character. Apparently he's going to get hatched on stage in Survivor Series, and instead of that, obviously getting a call from Vince, and Vince saying, "Is this the Undertaker?" Undertaker saying, "If it's not the Eggman, it could be anything else." So that's what he said. He's like, yeah, this is me. And that's a beautiful start. Now, I've heard this story plenty of times, so I'm not really too hyped about that story. Like, I feel if you know The Undertaker and you're on social media, you probably would have at least heard somewhat of the story before if you're truly into wrestling. But it is still a good story to know that Undertaker could have been the Eggman. It could have been something that completely flopped, and such an icon probably wouldn't have been able to make it through that until now. But in the end, things work out for a reason, don't they? So I'm very happy that things don't end up turning the way that they did for the Undertaker. And in the end, who was the Eggman? I can't remember, and that is the biggest point that you could say. If he was the Eggman, no one would remember him, unless of course he makes it work. And of course, if he makes it work, he makes it work. But yeah, that didn't look like a very good thing that would work in wrestling, especially these days, for sure. Obviously, there was another one where obviously he's made a name for himself as the Undertaker now. Him and Paul Bearer are riding together, and of course they decided to talk about Madison Square Garden, I believe, which is obviously the biggest arena for wrestling, I would say, or any event in America. People always want to main stage events like that. And The Undertaker, obviously, for a few years, he was getting used to that, and the way that they allowed him to actually make the entrance, because it's so hard, because so many crowds, so many people are following the Undertaker, following all these wrestlers into the arena. They had to actually get an ambulance. They parked a few blocks away. Again, I'm not from America, so I don't know the street names. They blocked in a car park like a little bit further away, got an ambulance, and actually drove from the ambulance to Madison Square Garden. And eventually people caught on to that for a few years, and all of a sudden everyone's just jam-packing that car parking space, which is another good story, man. Just imagine The Undertaker, especially back then when he's considered the most feared wrestler of all time, man. People had nightmares about this guy, and he's just walking on the street with a bunch of fans trying to tackle him down, man. That's pretty strange, to be honest. And yeah, look, back then, when there's not really much security or technology or anything that can really assist them, there's no escorts or anything like that. So in the end, it's Yeah, so overall, it was just a good story to tell, to be honest. And yeah, it's not one of the more serious ones. Of course, The Undertaker said in the documentary, it's one of the hardest venues to get into, but it was one of the greatest venues to perform in once you're in there. Of course, Madison Square Garden, I think even now, it's probably one of the more tougher arenas to get into. So yeah, look, it's one of the more iconic venues for a reason, and that's probably it because of how unique it is and how special the stadium and its history is throughout the years, man. There's always going to be special stadiums, and even when they go to England and they go to all these stadiums that they don't know the history of per se compared to America, back in England that some of the venues have real good history, man. So yeah, he also talked about a lot of things, a lot of funny stories as well. The Godfather story with the hat was absolutely insane. I never heard this story before, so I was just looking at this like, these guys are just big babies, you know, like so the story is basically the Godfather had a hat on the Undertaker really liked, and these guys were a drunken mess. So he said, like, there's a lot of whiskey and stuff. Like, these guys are gone. But then Undertaker's like, oh, I like your hat. You know, I think it would look good on me. Then the Godfather opened the hat, bro. Took that, basically gave the hat to the Undertaker saying, here, this is yours. And Undertaker said no. And he got to the point where he went to the bathroom. The Godfather kicked the door down in the bathroom saying, you're going to get this hat. Undertaker puts his head through the door, throws it away. All those cars I'm assuming cars, if there wasn't any cars, that's great, honestly. But if there was cars, have mercy to one of those cars that witnessed the wrath of the door, just falling through the air, man. That's the biggest high flyer in wrestling history, that door. And yeah, they basically just had a fight for like 10 minutes or so about who's going to get the hat. People are just watching around that's already in the hotel room, just having a good laugh. Eventually, Undertaker takes the hat. And it was one of the more iconic stories, more iconic moments in the Godfather's life, because he's like, I beat the Undertaker. I made sure Undertaker took the hat, and in the end, he took it. That's pretty funny. When you could tell when Undertaker was telling the story that he really missed a lot of the people that were with him during that time, and also the stories and the events and the hotel nights. Again, I feel like a lot of people's biggest moments, most memorable moments, are on the road and not necessarily in the ring the whole time. So I can definitely, I can't say I agree or disagree because I'm not in the wrestling business, but like, I've had a feeling if I was friends, like really good friends with any of the wrestlers, and we were on the road together, that would probably be the more historic times, like the funny times. Just doing things, you know, just having a laugh. It's always, I feel like when you're on the road, when you're in a confined space with people that you like, I think it's the best, it's one of the best times you could possibly have. Going into the gas station story, this is a little bit more of a serious one. So this was before Paul Bearer was actually with The Undertaker. This was when Brother Love was still with The Undertaker. And they they got lost. And, you know, there's no GPS back then. They had to look at maps. And I still, for the life of me, cannot read a map properly. So that's probably why you see me struggle with street names and all of these things. Like, I just don't know. I suck with names. So yeah, this random guy, they pulled up at a gas station and asked the random guy if they could go onto where I could go on the highway. And these guys were gonna rob this guy. Was gonna become complete thugs. Have 3 or 4 people try and jump him, and the Undertaker's just lying down. He doesn't know what's happening. Then when he finally sees it, he just steps up and gives him the look. Obviously, I'm assuming he still has his makeup on. Like, there's cartoons in this, and it looks like he has the makeup on. He looks dead, and then they just basically gave him the directions and ran, bro. When you see a 6'7" to 6'10" guy, just extremely tall, absolutely massive in his weight, just absolute giant, really. Looking at you like that, bro, you're gonna be running, bro. I don't care who you are, man, you're running. And in the end, those are wannabe thugs that ended up ended up buckling when they probably they deserve to buckle, man. It's the Undertaker, for crying out loud, man. It's 3-on-1, doesn't matter. But anyway, yeah, look, events like this should never happen, man. You should never have people trying to jump other people for something as small as $15. But let's be real here. Things don't change. Like, I'm sure if you go to a dodgy gas station anywhere now, the same things would probably still happen. So that's in the end, I kind of made a realization of the things that were back then and how things are now, and there's not much of a change there. I'm pretty sure there's stabbings and gunshots within 7-Elevens, and obviously in Australia, man, there's been a few within this year, and it's basically, my friend owns a 7-Eleven, so I know some of the events that happen within a 7-Eleven, and it's not great. It's not great at all. And yeah, but in the end, that was just a story. That was just a story that basically brought everything together for me. Just, brought the real world as well as his circumstances to show that not everybody has at least a similar story that they could probably tell within a gas station type environment. Obviously, the flight from hell, which is what I named this one. So this was another one where all hell was breaking loose, man. This is like the biggest thing. This is what I would want in a WWE game, an airplane match, man, where basically everybody in the airplane is just fighting each other for a laugh. You had Vince McMahon and Kurt Angle just going at it, yeah, like I feel like WWE Battlegrounds is coming out. If you don't have an airplane match, then you failed your mission, man. Mission failed. You need to have an airplane match. And basically the Undertaker, who was, I believe, would have had a concussion, had half of his ear split due to a knee brace by Stone Cold Austin 316. By the way, the video after this one should be my 316th video, so there you go. Everything's coming together. So, but anyway, yeah, like basically he woke up, he was in and out of consciousness, he just grabs Kurt Angle, put him in a headlock, and when you hear of an Olympic gold medalist getting choked out, it's one of those things where you don't believe it, really. But in the end, yeah, that's a great story, man. I've heard that story before, but not in that much detail. I didn't know Undertaker had a split ear. I didn't know he was in and out of consciousness. I didn't know why Vince and Kurt were just fighting. But yeah, apparently there are a lot of flights like that back in the day. So in the end, fair play, man. They should definitely have a match like that in WWE games, please. Just pick the Undertaker and just go ham on everybody on the plane, man. That'd be hilarious. Also, you had a few other ones. So the ones that I really wanted to bring up, the last two is the Yokozuna's hair is on fire. Basically, there was no you weren't allowed to drink and stuff like that, so we were playing cards and stuff, and he flicked a match, and it went into Yokozuna's hair, and Yokozuna is apparently, like, I don't know the guy, but when you hear about what other people talk about him, is one of the nicest guys, one of the most happiest guys you could possibly ever meet, and he laughed it off, man. Well, I could just imagine in real life having people just full on punching his head in. Could have given him a concussion, but back then concussions didn't mean anything. Just because his hair's on fire and the guy's just laughing, man. That'd be hilarious to see. But if I was in that situation, bro, I would be pissed. Like if someone like my hair is already bad enough, man. So if you're gonna put my hair on fire, man, I would be pissed, bro. Absolutely pissed. But either way, man, that's a great story as well. And obviously the story that I wanted to hear the most going into this episode, I really wanted to hear about Wrestler's Court. Wrestler's Court for me was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. The fact that they actually had something like that just for a laugh, and they actually had to follow by the rules of the Wrestler's Court. Just imagine if someone said, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing the punishment that he gave to me. Or hell would break loose, man. So the Undertaker was the judge, the executioner, the jury. He could be whatever he wanted to be. Basically, everything went through the Undertaker. Obviously, being the locker room leader at the time, Wrestler's Court was the Undertaker's, and it was just a bit of fun. But there were some stories I've heard when the likes of Mick Foley, he even brought up a story about leaving Hardcore Holly in the airport and stuff like that. Yeah, look, it was great. I'm pretty sure the latest Wrestler's Court story I heard was from The Miz. I'm not sure if that was actually Wrestler's Court, but he got kicked out of the locker room for a year and stuff like that. But it's funny, man. It's just funny. And yeah, like I loved Wrestler's Court, and I hope it's still happening in WWE today. I hope someone takes over the reins. Maybe the Randy Ortons, Big Shows, anybody that's experienced takes over Wrestler's Court. Maybe Mark Henry. I feel like Mark Henry's there a lot, even though he doesn't wrestle. Someone make Wrestler's Court. Don't get rid of Wrestler's Court. And yeah, and obviously the one with Xavier Woods giving him the actual hammer that he had. I don't know what it's called. that was good as well. I didn't know how the hell Xavier Woods had it, but he did. And that was basically it, man. Now, this video is not really long, but again, the stories that Undertaker tell is probably some of the most important things you could hear, man, because it just shows that wrestling is not just what's in the ring, it's what's outside of the ring. And even, it was a narrative-based documentary. It wasn't Undertaker speaking for half an hour. This was all but a narrative, and I think there might be more of these coming, I don't know. But I was really happy with what I saw today. Now, is this a must-watch? I don't think it's a must-watch. I don't think it's worth you. Like, basically, I told you all the stories, but instead of me saying it, it would be the Undertaker, which is obviously much more valuable than what I say. But I do think that it's good, and it's a little bit of a laugh. It's just half an hour of just, you know, entertaining stories, and I think that's the least of what Undertaker has to say. I'm sure there's a bunch more. There was a bunch of stories that he said about how he met his wife in the documentary, about backstage nervousness and all this, WrestleMania, what it meant to him. Like, there were a bunch of stories throughout the entire documentary that Undertaker told. But these ones were just a little bit of a kickback laugh, like with certain events that happened that he remembered. And I think there still could be more to come. So, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on, and yeah, let me know the funniest story. If you do think that I didn't explain this as well as I probably should have, or maybe that you feel like you would need to hear it again from someone, I do recommend go watching this. It's only half an hour, so it's like 24 minutes actually. So I do recommend you do go watch it from the Undertaker himself. The narrative, they put it in much better terms than what I did, but I tried my best and I think I did okay. Again, the comment section's there for you to criticize me if I did a bad job. Anyway, have a wonderful and safe day. Take care and peace.